Hi. We're outside this evening. Welcome to Mind Your Character with Bosede Olusola-Obasa. I'm at an outside location. I'm actually at the venue where we'll be hosting the A Gamer Arc under the product Game of Working that we've been advertising. If you are registered, this is me assuring you that we're good to go for tomorrow. We've been busy, we're at the venue, and we're ready. One of the greatest things in life is that I love and that I've come to identify with as my life goals is adding value to people, adding value to places, adding value to systems, adding value to structure. So I agree that some places, some persons, some systems already have a bit of value. But you see, when Bosede Olusola-Obasa steps in, she adds the extra value. On that note, I welcome you to Mind the Character with Bosede Olusola-Obasa. This is the show that never ever leaves you the same way. So a few weeks ago, pardon me, I talked about me telling stories, and I could not do this last week because I had to be on full Easter break. So and today, you can see I'm not pancaked and all because we just finished setting up at where we're having our event for tomorrow. So welcome, and you're going to be joining me for just a bit of minutes because I am resolute about keeping today's appointment with my audience and viewers. So I started a few weeks ago. I've done two sessions already, telling the story that life, a lot of stories that life has taught me in 50 years of life. By the grace of God, I'll clock 50 in August, and I felt that life is all about contribution and not just consumption. I am a very, very close student of Dr. David Oyedepo's School of Wisdom. And so a lot of the things that guide the way I've lived my life from when I was a teenager were things I learned directly by listening to him. Talk about marriage, talk about business, talk about any form of relationship, talk about attitudes, talk about standing out, talk about wanting to be relevant to the world, not just because you want to make a name, but because you want to leave the world better than you met it. So I also go by that axiom that I leave people and places better than I met them. And that's the entire thing about adding value or being a value adding person. So most of the time, the only acronym you ever hear me give to myself or place my name beside or place beside my name is VACE, VACE, and that's value adding citizen of the earth. What a privilege to be a value adding citizen of the earth. So today, let's take some two quick lessons because of the time that I have extra that life, if I'm able to do more than two, beautiful, but if not, I promise that I'm doing two and they're going to drive home some good points. I've already told stories about birth position and how it made me someone who has had to lead from the get-go, from when I came to know myself, the way we say it. I found out that I've had to take responsibility for things. I've had to answer for other people. I've had to be responsible to a thing or the other. I've had to chest life as it comes, even though I'm a girl or a lady, and then eventually a woman. But life in birth position has taught me a thing. And the last time I was telling you that whatever condition you have in your family is only a seed. And I said that it's left for you to tell me what the harvest will be. So you can change the soil texture, you can transplant the seed, you can change the seed entirely, meaning that you must self-develop and grow. You cannot just say. So I learned in life that whatever I see in my growing up that is great, it's my choice to determine whether it becomes greater. If it is not so great, it's my choice to determine whether it becomes better. So at the end of the day, I learned not to blame other people for my life. So as you are seeing me like this, the way this thing, I do not blame others for my life. I don't sit in a pity party where I'm saying, oh, I wish I was born here. If you're that person who is also always wishing things were better, this is my advice for you. There's a second route that can give you more peace. Just choose to make yourself responsible by being accountable to yourself and telling yourself, I could make this better in spite of anyone else. So that's so much of what I have shared before. I think about 10 has been shared already. I'm adding two. But don't worry, I'm going to complete the 50 as promised. So after I left secondary school, I left secondary school at age 17. And after leaving secondary school, I started listening, like I said, to Bishop Oyedepo, who I met as a teenager. And many of the things he said challenged me a lot, particularly in the area of being a responsible young person. And then he'll say something like, why will you sit at home and be eating your mother's food for free? Go out and work. He will tell the parents, push them out, let them go and work. Anyway, so my own parents were not pushing me out, but I was actually pushing myself out. So what moment I finished secondary school, I already knew that I had to work. And then it was a season where things were looking down for the family financially. It had not always been like that. So I took to a job, an holiday job, that's the way I refer to it, with a dry cleaning shop called Lifetime Dry Cleaners. Lifetime Dry Cleaners was just opposite my house. So one of the lessons life taught me is that everywhere you find yourself is a platform to make the next place you're going a lot easier. How did that start happening from my teenage years for me? So I joined this business. It was everything like a one-man business. So it had that branch opposite my house. All I had to do is step out of the house and move in there. He took to politics sometime. It was a, I think, local government councillor in Ikeja at some time. So he had a lot going for him. He needed someone to manage that place. And at a point, he was selling paints, like building paints as well. So everything was within the same premises, but I was managing it for him practically. I think I was around my 18, 19th year of life then. So it happened that some days I just come to this shop where I manage the dry cleaning services. I don't dry clean, right? So that's the entry point where people bring in their clothes and where they also collect. So it's like the drop and collect point. And then he had other things selling. So I was managing that place for him. And then gradually I could tell that he had some level of trust in me. I didn't take that for granted at all. And thankfully, I didn't slip away. I didn't forget myself on that. So a number of times after some years, because I worked there, I guess, for like 2 years or thereabout, and I will come in the morning and at a corner of because I also had to clean the place. So I learned a lot about how to be an entrepreneur from then, because if you're an entrepreneur who is starting with your own capital, so to speak, and you don't want to start small, you want to have everybody in at once. Well, you need to learn some lessons. If you have all that you need to start so big, why not go ahead and do it? It is what you should do. So that said, I just started noticing when I'm sweeping in the morning that I'll find money. Now, that is not a place where you should find money, because I collect the clothes, I tag them, I enter them into the book. Then there's a part of the office where you drop them for those who will carry them to go and wash, to come and pick. So, and then I will start sweeping in the morning and I'll find money at a corner. It happened once, it happened twice. And at a point, I'm saying, where does this thing come from? But good enough. I had already been trained from home and by Christian values to never take what didn't belong to me. So even though it was a time when there was some level of deprivation needs, it never caught my fancy to keep quiet like I did not see the money while I would have taken it. I would always tender it back to him and say, I saw this money at this, I don't know how that place had money, but I will send him the money. And then my books were always correct, no missing clothes, no anything. So I would tell him that I saw, and he'll say, oh, okay, okay, thank you. So he never came to a time where he told me that he was testing me. For some, I just had to suspect that could it be that I've been tested on my character without knowing. Because at the end of the day, I was able to have all the years I had to work there, and everything worked well. Having a record that made him so excited and expectant about my admission. Because don't forget, I said that that was a holiday job. I was waiting to pass my jam and then go to the university or polytechnic, whichever way it went, as it used to be. So after some time, I found out that NIJ was where I could get admission, and I signed up to study journalism at Nigerian Institute of Journalism. And I shared the news with him that, oh, I eventually got admission. He was so excited that he said, don't worry. I already told me even before then that, don't worry, when you are ready to go to school, I'll be taking care of your school fees. And he did. I did not have to ask. I did not have to cringe. I did not have to beg. I did not have to. He was so excited, and he supported and continued to support for as long as that's Mr. Sunday. Oh, he continued to support for as long as he could. What did that teach me? Accountability is important, sincerity is important, faithfulness is important, trustworthiness is important. They are all in the same family. If you are not trustworthy, if you are not accountable, if you are not honest or faithful or even sincere, there's a lot that will pass by you that you will not be able to benefit from. So, to the glory of God, I have had that kind of record over and again. But from even the way I'm still sounding, sharing this story, you could see that I'm still wondering, how did those monies get there? It didn't happen once. It didn't just happen twice. It happened a lot of times. And it would just be in a corner of the room. And ha, I needed money. Like I needed money those times. But no. And that leads me to the second major story that I would share. A lot was going on well for the family before we started reaching our teenage years. By the time my and my siblings started reaching our teenage years, all of a sudden my dad's business, he served in the army, and then after he left, he started the business. All of a sudden, the business wasn't gelling, things were going south, and we were not able to afford the basic things we would afford. But trust me, my parents are hard workers. They will do any kind of job that is legal to put food on the table. And so they kept doing that. And as time went on, it began to hit on those of us who were girls, particularly for myself. A single girl and a teenager growing into my older teens and all, there were a lot of things I could not afford. Yes, they will ensure that you got food. But no, it wasn't only food that you needed. A lot of the times you needed things as simple as sanitary pad. And I lie not. Things as simple as sanitary pad, it was difficult. Basic things you called basic, it was so difficult. So that was deprivation. So, but life taught me that lack or deprivation is not an outright excuse for promiscuity. So if you tell me that the reason I'm immoral, the reason I'm indecent, the reason I'm going around trying to sleep with so many men is because I need to make ends meet, I stand here to tell you that over time, I learned to know in life that lack or deprivation is not the main reason. It's not an outright excuse for promiscuity or indecency or immorality or selling yourself cheap. You're free to agree or disagree with me, but this, remember, is my story. And I'm sharing it to inspire younger people who might listen to it. You are able to pass through that season. I can't begin to tell you everything that we could not have then, not because we did not want, not because our parents were not working hard, but because life was happening to us back to back to back. So, decency is still very much one of my strongest values today as an adult. I bought into it several years. And so for me, it has got to be decent for it to be cool. For me, one of the definitions of cool is decent. If it's not decent, it's not cool. And decency for me isn't just in hygiene, it's in outlook, it's in presentation, it's in how you talk. It's in all of the etiquettes that go around propriety. Yes. Life taught me that you could be decent despite being deprived of basic things that you require. Because you go around today and hear young people saying that the reason they've gone into untoward traits, character, and lifestyle is because they have needs. You're not the first person to have a need. If I start telling you, the day I was sharing my needs list, my list with young people at the teenage church in Calvary, they were shocked. They're like, there's a way all of them were looking at both myself and my children who were in the hall, like, your mom went through this? Even my children said, you didn't tell us this detail. Even though you do tell us story. You know this detail about this. So deprivation will come. Deprivation or circumstances should not be things that interpret your values. That's why they are called values. They are pillars. They decide, they determine, they show us what you value. Thank you, Mrs. Olumakinde. She says, thanks so much for this, ma. Lack and deprivation is not, yes, not an outright excuse for you to be wayward, like to throw decency and caution or decorum to the winds. So there are a lot of things that life has taught me that I've learned by experience. I probably did not learn them by somebody sitting me down. I was going through life and then I learned to know how to take the better dimensions or perspective to them. Like I said, I'll only be sharing these two today because I am at the venue where I will be hosting the Getting More from Working uh, training tomorrow. Getting More from Working is a training that you need everybody on your team to attend, particularly if they are just joining your team or they are just starting a career or they are trying to scale their career like from one level to another. This is also important. So that has been it this evening. It's been Mind Your Character with Bossade Olusola-Obasa, and I've shared two lessons with you. I truly hope that you have found it useful. And yeah, I will have another day when I'll talk about advances. Okay, I talked about deprivation today and I talked about accountability and how I learned to, there are advances and advances also have their own tilt. So did I have advances around the time when I was deprived? Could I have gone with somebody? Could I have eloped? You know, and so at the end of the day, you'll find one thing consistent with every week that I share a story with you is the fact that Christian values. Take that out of me and you find how empty I can be. So I don't know, what faith do you subscribe to and how much of impact does it have on you? You should truly consider that, particularly trying to know whether it's been positive and useful. I will, by God's grace, be with you again on Friday. And that's going to be a new month. Woo! Yes, I'm running this series until I make it up to 50. And so thank you, Mrs. Olumakinde, for joining. And thank you, Claire. Thank you for everyone at the back end. I wish I could just carry this camera now and go and show you what our hall looks like ready for tomorrow. But don't worry, you will see snippets online tomorrow. Take care of yourself and stay blessed.